Aloha and welcome. I am Candace Fox, and I am so happy and grateful that you are here with me today. This is the second webinar, and we are going to be starting with the first block. But before I do, I want to take care of a few housekeeping details. So I decided not to do it on my Google Hangout page because I have been experiencing technical difficulties, and especially when you're doing that and not everything is happening, it's very easy to get sidetracked with technical difficulties. So I just wanted to keep it simple and just have it here on the YouTube account. So I just want to share with you a little bit of how to use this, especially if you're not sure, because there is a question and answer area. And I'm actually going to go to my other computer and turn it on real quick to make sure we are on live. Hold on just a second. Okay, so we are on live, and on your screen there's probably a little pop-up block that says be a part of the conversation. So if you click on that, actually what happens is you'll be taken to the Google Plus Hangout page, and it'll show you on the side question and answers, and down below is like a green box, and that's where you can type in any of your questions or comments that you might have, and that way it'll come straight to me, and then I'll be able to see if you have any questions and answer them for you. So go ahead. If you don't see that, you can actually click refresh, start it over again, and then that little box, the be a part of the conversation, will pop up again. So that way you'll see that. So anyhow, thank you for being here. I just want to share a little bit about me, especially for those who weren't on the first webinar or haven't met me before. I am Candace Fox. I am an intuitive life coach, and I help a lot of people going through different transitions and changes and help them become aware of their self-limiting beliefs so that they can start transitioning into where they really want to go and be aligned with who they are and start choosing from a place of responsibility rather than from reactions and past habits. And I've noticed with a lot of my clients, a lot of them have been having blocks on moving forward and manifesting what they truly want in their life. So my biggest thing was really to provide you this webinar, this opportunity to really dig deep into yourself and figure out what are these blocks and how are they inhibiting you from your life and moving forward. And I've invited a lot of women on, especially from the Superwomen group. If you're out there, welcome. I've also invited my Ohana from Project Freedom team. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And also, I did a mass marketing scheme all over the Facebook land, and I've gotten people from all over the world, so from Australia, Canada, and all over the United States, and I'm so happy that you're here and joining me today. So if you're out there, hello, welcome, and grab a pen and paper and get ready to learn a lot of different things and blocks that keep you from what you truly manifest. So first, I do want to begin with a little bit of recap from the last week's webinar. It was a really important one, and what we covered was the 4 archetypes of survival. And I don't know about you, but for me, after I gave that lecture, I was seeing those 4 archetypes everywhere in the movies, or if I was out and about, and I could see their behaviors. And also I started to reflect on my own, which ones were not quite healed yet and which ones were actually, setting up strong boundaries and doing good things with that and making better choices. So I want to just do a recap. So the first archetype that we talked about is the child. And the child has good attributes and also shadow attributes. The good attributes is really being playful and being alive, creative, and going about your life with a sense of awe and potential and faith and just reverence for life, just really exploring. However, the shadow side is like being dependent and really being cautious of yourself, especially if you're the orphan child or the wounded child. Your childlike self has been quelled, and it's hard to even appreciate life because you're so scared. The second one is the victim, and the victim has, again, the shadow side and the light side. The light side is really, again, sticking up for yourself, creating boundaries, and knowing that you are an adult, and you can protect yourself and keep yourself safe at all times. And with the victim, a lot of times we like to wallow in pity because we want that sympathy from others, but it keeps us stuck and it keeps us staying within the same story over and over again rather than just moving forward. The next one is the saboteur, and the saboteur is the one that stops us from really where we want to go, kind of like this webinar. It's like where we really truly want to be. It makes us believe that we're not good enough, or possibly that there's other people that are better than you. There's no way that you'll be able to make it out there. So then you just sabotage yourself and don't even start or even go in that direction, and then you just kind of keep yourself secluded and continuously do the same things over and over again. And the last one is the prostitute. And the prostitute occurs when you are out of integrity with yourself and you begin to do things that aren't great for you for the name of survival. A lot of times this happens in finances. So for instance, if you are married and one of the spouses has more money and you stay because it is a financial security, but you want to leave because it's the worst relationship where you know it no longer serves you, but you stay because of the financial security. And so in that light side of the prostitute, you really start to believe in yourself and you start to trust in a higher power and know that no matter what, you are always going to be taken care of. So I did ask for homework. I did have a few people turn it in, and kudos to you for who did it, because that means you're really digging deep and you're wanting to see what's inside of you. What is this inner landscape that keeps you from moving forward? And it's so important to go within and discover what these 4 archetypes are doing in your life, because if you don't, they might actually be running amok and you don't even realize it. So I actually wanted to share with you one of the homeworks that I received because it was just so amazing. And that way, if you are ready to do the homework, which I highly recommend, especially throughout this webinar series, because it will change your life. You know, it's not enough to just be here on the webinar and learn about it. We already know so much information, and we're just piling it on and piling it on. But if you don't actually do something about it and take action towards it and like really discover what is in there, then it'll be a lot harder to change and to move forward because you're resisting yourself. So I'm not going to name who this person is. However, I'm going to read to you what I received. So it says, Candace, it is with great difficulty that I attempt to do this homework. There is resistance and fear in honestly looking at myself. Plus, this is a rather new experience for me. The information that you presented was very clear, and here is my work as I fight this feeling of resistance. And I'm sure that all of you have felt this resistance too. So for the child, they say, having grown up in a large family where the girls are older and having been the youngest for 8 years, I realized that I grew up with a lot of support. I was babied a lot and not allowed to go anywhere on my own. And yet, since the family was large, I did feel a lot of times ignored. I know that getting good grades in school was the key to getting my mom's approval, and I did. And so for many times, he remained a victim, getting the support from others. And so his affirmation was beautiful. It's, I am confident and decisive in my actions. Because being that child in a large family, it's like everyone is doing everything for you, so you can fall to this being dependent on other people. The next is the victim. So being the youngest in the family for my 8 years, with older sisters being around to help, I used crying as a great attention getter. That's how I got what I wanted and the sympathy that I needed. The problem with this behavior is that I was fearful of making my own decisions and doing things on my own. I always needed help. So he fell victim to the support of others without taking responsibility for himself. The affirmation is, I am powerful and a capable leader. Right on. The next one is the saboteur. And I realize that I tend to stick by my bad decisions a lot longer than I should. This is due to fear and confusion as to what the consequences of my decision will take me. There's a certain amount of wishy-washiness in supporting a decision. In fact, I find myself not committing fully to a lot of my decisions. So when you don't commit fully, it actually starts to present doubt within you or fear, and you have these chicken exits, which means that you have this other excuse that kind of gets you out of what you thought you wanted to commit, and then you stray away from really what you want to do. And the affirmation is, I am clear and positive with my decisions. Lastly is the prostitute. I tend to take the safe path with relationships, afraid to risk being vulnerable and being rejected, choosing a rather solitary life instead. In the workplace, although I have ventured away from this safe path in recent years, I pretty much worked most of my life in jobs that were secure and mundane, rather than risky and challenging. I was afraid of failing. And so instead of really taking the path of passion and doing what he wanted to do, he stayed in these mundane jobs, which quelled this passion within, this integrity that he knew that there was something more for him to do. And instead he took these mundane jobs, therefore prostituting his soul for something that was more financially stable and secure, rather than taking a leap of faith. And the affirmation is, I am deserving of success in love and in business. Yay! So if you haven't done the homework assignment yet, I ask that you do and that you send it to me. I am doing a clearing on each of these homework assignments, whoever does send it to me, and that way that these 4 archetypes don't get in your way. And or if they do, you'll quickly recognize them so that you don't have to be reactive and have to be the victim to each of these archetypes. So that is the 4 archetypes. I have the same cards here. Again, if you haven't watched it, go back to your email or email me and I'll send you the link. So before I begin to tell you about the first main roadblock, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. So I have been an entrepreneur now for several years. I have 2 successful businesses, and it definitely was not always this way. It has been a rough, rocky road, going through different changes and changing my mindset. And in order to get to where I am today, I really did a lot of classes and seminars to make myself right, because I knew I was headed in the wrong direction. I was doing all these rebellious things in my younger life, and I wound up in a place that I didn't really want to be, pretty much knee-deep in debt, as well as having boyfriends that were non-committal and awful, as well as in jobs that weren't really serving my higher purpose. And so when I took these seminars, I took classes, I even saw counselors, I began to really notice what was inside of me and to find out what was the inner environment of what was operating on the outside. And as I began to heal those aspects of me and accept them and not really reprimand them, but accept them for who they really are, the survival team that got me through my decisions of that time, I was able to transform them and use them for the good. So being able to use the light attributes of the 4 archetypes to get me to where I am today. And I realized that having a business is one of the hardest things in the world, because it tests you monetarily, spiritually, emotionally, physically, in all levels. And with some of the people I've talked to as they're beginning their businesses, some of them don't even start, some of them quit right away. So again, I wanted to share this webinar so that you can get the support that you need, especially because sometimes we feel like we're all alone. And I'm here for you, and there's a lot of other areas and people and support groups that are here for you to really get through this. And I found the best way through it all is going to the root of the problem. And so the first roadblock that I'm going to reveal today is change. Now, change is the most constant thing in this world. That's the one thing we can rely on in this world. And yet we fall prey to it, we become resistant to it, and we're anxious about it, we're afraid of it, and we just don't want to do it. We go in it kicking and screaming. And for me, that's why I wanted to change before something drastic happened in my life. And that's how it can happen. You can either change yourself and do the things necessary that needs to be done, like going to counseling, going to support groups, or going to seminars, or learning new things to help you on your path. Or you can have one of those crazy crisis things come up that really stop you on your path. And then you're forced to change because there is no other way around it. And I found that for me, I don't want to go through those drastic changes anymore. I wanted to really make the choice to go through it, and responsibly. So I will be revealing to you the willingness to change diagram. I'll also be revealing to you how to get from your money level to a higher wealthy level, because it can't be done without change. And I actually have an amazing woman here with me, and I'm going to have her tell you her story. She has gone through so much change in her life, and a lot of it was drastic change, and a lot of it was also self-change. She did what she could in order to get to where she is now, and where she is now is amazing and awesome. Her life is so happy and full of energy and doing so much different things. And I'm proud to say that she is my mother-in-law, and I love her so much. And her name is Christine Clendenning, and she is going to step up here in a little bit and share with you her story. So if you can give her a warm round of applause. Hello. Mwah. Thank you. This is Christine. So I'm going to step off. Here you go.
Hope everybody's having a fabulous day. I am. I'm here in Hawaii with my beautiful children. Need to let you know I have never ever done anything like this before in my entire life, and I guess it's time I start since my kids are doing such a fabulous job of it. Where to start? I'll start where I'm at now. I'm 62 years old, and I have had quite a bit of change in my life. I've always had a positive attitude no matter what, a strong will, and a fighter. And I've never ever lost faith in the powers that be and the guidance that they give you, and the stuff they put in front of you. I'm sorry, I might get a little emotional. Where I'm at now is where I'll start, and then I'll tell you what I went through and how I got here. It's a fabulous journey, and I couldn't be happier with where I'm at now. I am a holistic practitioner, minister, very eclectic in my healing modalities, and I love it. It's my passion. I didn't realize until I was about 48 years old that this is what I was supposed to be doing. Financially, this has brought me better than anywhere I've ever been. I have to work hard, but it's great. I have my own time schedule. I can come to Hawaii when I want to see my beautiful family. And it's okay. I can make my own schedules. It's fabulous. I was able to invest in another company that I thought that I would be 50% ownership, run that business, and also, be a member of the LLC and have an owner's draw. And things didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to, but it worked out the way it was supposed to. Sometimes you have to just step out of the way of where your guides and the universe is taking you and realize that that's not the path you wanted to be on. So I was working that, and also where I am at now with my ministry. And it is now bringing me close to $3,000 a month, and I don't have to do anything. Isn't that fabulous? So again, if I have to take some time away, I'm not worried that I'm not working that week. It's wonderful. Where to start my story? I'm going to go way back to the kid's father, my first marriage. Loved him to pieces, but he was very dysfunctional. Of course, so was I. I realized later that I was, and still am, and working on it, a codependent. It's not a bad thing, but it can certainly control your life if you're not aware of, like Candace said, the archetypes. I mean, they come up big time in the codependency. I have 3 beautiful children. Isaac, who you, I think, have already met, and he'll be on the webinars with Candace, too. We've all had our own journeys, and we're all together now on a wonderful journey. We're going to actually be opening a wellness center here in Honolulu when I get to move over here, which is a plan for the future and totally doable. But after almost 20 years of marriage and seeing what the alcoholic behavior had done to me, what I had done to me and my children, I'm going to just say I felt the fear and did it anyway. I created change. We started going to classes, gave their dad an option, change with us, heal with us, but we can't live with you anymore. And he chose the latter. And it broke my heart. It was hard for the kids. And again, I felt the fear and did it anyway. I didn't know how I was going to survive. And Candace had brought that up before as far as relationships, and you stay together because what am I going to do? Well, it was destroying our health and our well-being, and I couldn't. So I did it, and in about 7 years after that, we were doing good. You know, we had a hard time, but I did have beautiful, loving family around me that, you know, weren't going to let us go hungry. And a fabulous job, but it was in mainstream retail. And I met a wonderful man and married him, and he helped me with the kids, and we were, you know, living the regular middle-class life, both of us working for Long's Drug Store. He was a manager, I was in administrative and bookkeeping, and, you know, we were happy. We were plugging along. We had worked, each of us, about 33 years in retail. And at the time my grandmother passed away, she was 93. I had been taking care of her for a lot of years. I did get a little bit of income, so I took another leap of faith and said, I don't want to work for retail anymore. And been in the background for a while. I wanted to make changes. I didn't like it. I knew I was capable of much better things. So my husband supported me, and I started my healing modalities. I started learning as much as I could, massage therapy. I'm a Reiki master. When I quit Long's, I opened my own salon. I live in California, so I opened a tanning salon, or actually it was called Forever Summer Tanning Spa. I offered the beautiful sunshine and then also spa treatments and modalities. Was going along really, really nicely. And, you know, in 2008, everything came crashing down financially for a lot of people. My husband and I had invested almost all of our retirement money, which was over $350,000, in this wonderful investment that was going to, in 10 years, we would be able to retire. That fell apart. The bottom fell out of it. We lost all of it. We didn't know what we were going to do. We were hoping we could retire, and then, you know, when that happens, you think, oh my God, I'm going to have to work forever. And things were a little difficult for him and I because we were trying to sort this out, and my God, why did we make that decision? You know, you beat yourself up. And the other thing, okay, here's the one that I didn't choose myself. My husband died. very unexpectedly the day after Christmas in 2008. So not only had we lost our life savings, I lost the love of my life. And I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. Those 2 years after he passed away, I cannot tell you very much about them. But I am a, what's the word I'm looking for? I just keep pushing through. I keep working. I keep holding it together for family. And that's what I did. And I didn't realize that I had gone into depression and actually post-traumatic stress disorder through that. I knew something was off. I wasn't myself, and my beautiful kids, you know, brought it to my attention. And never be afraid of seeking assistance. I've done it throughout my entire life, back to the kid's dad, and when I was, you know, making those decisions to, you know, change our lives. And look within yourself. And like Candace says, find out what isn't working for you. Seek whatever comes to you, because if you ask, guidance is going to show you what you need to know and what you need to do. Trust that. Trust your gut. We're all so much more powerful than you can even imagine as far as really knowing. And again, feel the fear and do it anyway. Courage is fear that has said its prayers. I love that one. And just remember this too, a belief is a thought you keep thinking. Change your thoughts about anything that isn't working for you, and it's amazing what will show itself and open up for you. So you can move past, keep moving forward. Not only did I lose my husband, but 2 years later I was not able to keep financially on top of things, and I lost my home. And had to literally, you know, the bank gave me 30 days to get out of there. They were working with me for a modification for a widow, and they all of a sudden at the last minute said, because in lieu of the circumstances with, you know, things that were happening in the financial industry, that they no longer offered that program. Did I make more money than I was disclosing? It's like, well, heck no. So I had to short sell my house and leave within 45 days. Granted, you got to understand, I was there for 12 years, and to move in that short amount of time and also to find another place to live, and I lost my train of thought. There's so much going on. I did it. And that's what pushed me over the edge as far as losing it. I didn't stay there very long. I seeked assistance of, you know, the doctors and a psychologist, and he basically told me, Christine, you're functioning. And I go, well, I don't feel like I'm functioning because I'm not functioning the way I normally function. And he constantly had to reassure me, you are doing great, even though I didn't feel I was doing great. It took me about 18 months, and I pulled out of it and decided, you know, that I needed to close my salon. Again, because 2008, the money decreased. I was working to pay the overhead, and it wasn't working. So again, I made a change, and I did that. And now that I'm working out of my home and I'm outsourcing and have this other income coming in, I'm better than I was when my husband and I were married as far as financially. And it's all because I trusted. I listened. I talk to my guides and angels all the time, and I'm getting better at listening and better at seeing what's in front of me, and choosing the right paths, because so many are put before you. You have to do the work Candace is giving you, and it's going to be amazing what's going to open up for you. I think I better stop now. There's so much other I could to talk to you about, but I think what she wanted you to see is from all of that, I'm doing wonderfully, and there's even more change. The couple years, if you'd have said move to Hawaii, I would have freaked out, and now I'm like, yes, bring it on. So what else is possible? How does it get any better than this? Thank you so much.
Yay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, good job. Yay, I'm so happy she got on because I love her story. It always makes me feel so emotional every time. And, you know, I was there with her during the move, and it wasn't easy. See someone you love go through all of that. So anyhow, as I collect myself, so this big block that we go through is change. So I wanted to draw out for you what change looks like so that when it does happen, you're not really in the dark. And so I'm going to share with you my slides. And I know last time I tried sharing it, I had that technical difficulty. So I'm making sure this works out perfectly now. So I'm going to share my slides. Again, if you have any questions or comments that you want to share with me, all you need to do is refresh your page, and there's that little box at the bottom of your screen that will show up that says, be a part of the conversation. And it'll take you basically to another page, a Google Plus Hangout page, that'll give you this opportunity to write down your question or comment. So just want to remind you that that's there, and if you want to go ahead and do that at any time, feel free. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and share with you the willingness to change diagram. Okay, I think we are on the willingness to change diagram. So I found out this is the only way I can show it. I can't show it in the big slides. I apologize. So the words might be a little bit small. So I'll just read them to you. So we're going to start from the bottom here. And it basically says pre-existing condition. And I have slides that are going to happen right after this that will explain each one. So when we go through change, we go from this place of having this pre-existing condition of our beliefs, our judgments, our perceptions. And then when change begins to occur, we go into this shock. And the shock is like, what in the world happened? What's going on here? You're like literally blindsided or in this haze because you're not sure of what to do next. And then this next part is unreality. Unreality sets in because all your fears, your doubts, and everything starts to creep in, and your emotions go haywire. And then we come to this wall where we have a choice. We can either run around it like this gentleman here, or we can jump over it. We can dig a hole underneath or go straight through, or, you know, have the wall stop us. And then when you get over the wall, you basically see this new landscape, and you come into acceptance, or you begin to adapt, which then creates your new pre-existing condition. So again, we're going to go over these individually, and then I'll show this diagram to you again. So first I wanted to share with you a quote by W.H. Murray, and he is a climber. He was a climber right before World War II happened, and his wife actually wrote this book, The Evidence of Things Not Seen. And I love this quote. My business coach had shared it, and I loved it because it showed the possibility of going fully committed into something and going with the change and not looking back. And it says, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance which kills countless ideas and plans. That moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from a decision raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidences and meetings and material assistance, which no man could have dreamt would have come his way. I have learned a deep respect for one of Goethe's couplets. Whatever you can do or dream, you can. Begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. And so, as I was going into my business, I was so afraid. I was so afraid because I had no idea how to be an entrepreneur. I was working for people all of my life. I just knew that I wanted to create my own schedule, have my own hours, and just make it happen for myself and live the life that I really wanted to do, which was be this healer for other people. And it so happened that the job I was working at the Kahala Mandarin at the time, which was a very high-end hotel in Honolulu, they were switching over ownership. And so our spa and its employees were either continuing on or leaving. And I decided it was the best time to leave. And if you listen to my last story, that boss of mine was horrible, and I had wanted to leave many times before, but I waited. I waited for that moment that I knew it was time. And when I left, I actually was able to collect unemployment as well as use that money to start my career. And so it all happened in the perfect timing, like what it says here, providence moves to, and everything starts to move in your favor. So next, so again, we start at the bottom, which is your pre-existing condition. And what happens is the way we are living with our current beliefs and perceptions and judgments, we begin to see that it no longer fits in the place that we want to go or where we want to change to. And I really like this picture because she's living in this little box with all her things, and it's like she's crammed in, kind of like with these beliefs, perceptions, and judgments. And it's hard for her to even grow here because it's limiting her. So what I found is to be able to get outside of this little box, you really have to think and do things that are not within the box of your normal reality and your scope. And here, beliefs are root causes of how we live our lives. And they have been established from when we were very young. And the perceptions are how we see the world. So based on those beliefs, we see the world as either a dangerous place, a fearful place, or a loving and forgiving place where everything is possible. So what are your beliefs that you're living by that possibly cause you to take steps back, to not go through change? And then judgments are the stories we create. Whether you realize it or not, you create stories from these beliefs and perceptions. Like, for instance, maybe with how much money you can make, because your family was probably maybe on the poorer side, or maybe the middle class of living. It's like you didn't know how to create money, like, and go into the millions. And so we believe that what we could make was only a certain amount. So the solution that you can have here is when you're realizing that your pre-existing condition does no longer work for you, question yourself, ask yourself, am I happy? Am I satisfied? Am I avoiding? And then listen to yourself and take action steps. This is where your intuition is really going to kick in and tell you this is not where you want to be anymore. And I actually found this awesome book by Eckhart Tolle, wonderful. It actually talked about the condition of depression, and it didn't look at it from a fact that it was this bad thing, but this piece of information that kept you from living the life that you truly wanted to live. Depression sets in because you're not in alignment with who you really are and where you're supposed to go. And so depression gives you all those horrible feelings inside, this heaviness, this weight on your shoulder and in your heart, and it actually is what's reminding you that this no longer is your life that you're supposed to be living. It's time for you to take steps and move forward. And unfortunately, nowadays we just get pills to stop the depression, which then just keeps us in that story. And so we aren't ever taking those steps necessary and challenging them and moving forward. So the next one is shock. And shock occurs when the change happens. When it happens, it can happen, again, when you've chosen the change and when change just happens to you. I know that I welcome change. I'm like, yes, bring it on. But then when it actually occurs, I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? And all of a sudden I'm like with my hands up in the air, like, what did I just do? What's happening here? It can happen in any way. So here in shock, everything we thought we knew begins to be turned around. So all of our beliefs, perceptions, and judgments are all being challenged. They're askewed, and it's opposite from what we thought was real. And so the solution here is to just take care of yourself. This is the time when, don't overthink things. Just really do the things necessary that comforts yourself. That's why I put a picture of this guy in a warm blanket. Do things that are comforting and loving towards yourself. And especially if you're with someone who is in shock, know that whatever you say, any advice you give, they aren't really going to hear it because they're in the state of shock. The only thing that you can do is right here is be with that person and just be there for them. Comfort them and just be there. That's all that really matters to them at that moment. The next is unreality. So unreality starts to set in, and this is where I say that the washing machine cycle starts to happen. So the shock simmers down and you begin to start to feel all the things that are going on inside of you. This is where your emotions become the outside of your normal realm of emotions. The volumes are turned up way too high or way too low, and anger, frustration, emotional breakdowns, or hurt or sadness begin to erupt constantly. And I know that when I started going into my new business, I was so afraid and I was angry. I'm like, am I doing the right thing? And I began to question everything, and all this anger and frustration of like, what am I supposed to do, started coming up. And the best thing here, the solution, is to completely express your emotions in a safe environment without hurting yourself or others. And I learned a technique where you kind of stand in a sumo stance and you put your hands on your knees and you just kind of let out like the lowest moan possible and just go and just letting out that anger, frustration, so that you really start to lift it up from down and unearth it from your body and just let it go, because this is where everything starts to compress, and if you don't change it, it will come out in a way when your buttons are pushed, and it will affect others and affect yourself. So if you can do this on your own, it's the best thing. You can even take a pillow to your bed and just beat up your bed, or just cry, cry, and cry, and cry. Just let it out. The more that you release these emotions, that charge will calm down. And then next are experiencing the physical symptoms. So what happens is you start to feel pretty sick, and you're wondering if you're actually feeling sick, but it's basically the physical symptoms of change. And you could start feeling nausea or headaches, fever, exhaustion, or even begin to vomit. I know that when I go to my seminars, I always call this the seminar brain headache. After a long day at the seminar, my headaches are so intense that I have to take some Tylenol or something to calm it down. But what I realize, what I think it is, I'll just say what I think it is basically your brain increasing new folds in your head so that you create new neural transmissions and ways of thinking and doing so from where you used to be. So then these headaches and new folds occur in your brain, and then you start to just think differently. It's pretty interesting. I've actually had a lot of people say the same thing. And I also read some research where neurons, the nerves, brain sensory units, actually because if you're doing something over and over again, it begins to follow this pattern, and it continuously follows that pattern. So if you even change it, it takes so much energy for that neuron to do something different. So you have to train it. So this is where you're basically needing to train yourself, your body, to let whatever go that's holding you back go through these symptoms and change to this new way of being and doing and thinking of things. And then next we come to the wall of reality. And I love this picture because there's this guy just hanging out on the wall, and then there's a woman that just busted through it. And this is your blocks. It could be the fear, it could be anxiety, but it basically keeps you from moving forward. And you begin to experience like more of the anxiety, the need to control, fear, or you begin to fear the unknown, and you resist, and you fall into complacency if you decide not to move through this wall. And then sometimes some people, they just go back to the life they were living, and they become numb because that heaviness starts to take over you because you're not supposed to be there any longer. So the solution is to be aware and be willing. Be willing to look over that wall. You may need to sit on top of it for a little while and kind of just look out over the horizon, and then you can take your step. Or if you want, just go ahead, blast through it and just deal with whatever's going on. Or sidestep, dig a hole underneath the wall, but get to the other side, because I don't know about you, but for me, every time I've made a change, my life has gotten so much better and so much more in alignment. So for me, I'd rather move forward than move backwards. Also, when you get to this wall of reality and it's hard for you to jump over, question yourself, ask, who does this belong to? More oftentimes than not, you'll realize that this might be your mom, your dad, or friends, or the society saying that you can't do it. And when you can discover who that is, or if you get that sense of releasing and letting go, and take that step, you'll realize that wasn't your belief in the first place, and you'll feel so much better. Also, it might be one of your 4 archetypes acting out in the name of survival. And so they're like, no, but we're so afraid, we're so safe over here, it's so comfortable. And at the same time, you know, what you want and where you want to go is actually on the other side of that wall. So you really have to use those 4 archetypes and use their light characteristics to move forward. And then, you know, the biggest thing here is to really believe in yourself and trust that you are going to be okay, and you have support from those around you, or you even have the support in your faith, whether it be God, Buddha, or the universe. It always will work out for you. So the next one is the acceptance and adaptation. Reality begins to set in, and you just feel like, oh, I did it. I did it, and emotions begin to calm down, and you begin to see clearly, and you maneuver through this new environment, and you begin to settle in. And this may or may not happen like right away. Know that it is a process. Learning a new area takes time, and giving yourself that time and space to just settle in and process through it will be the best thing, because you can accept it better and adapt better. So here the solution is really creating a new roadmap, and knowing that, you know, the way you were living before does not really work for this way, and you have to start believing in different things and creating new perceptions and new judgments that align with your higher self and who you really are. Another thing you can do is say affirmations daily, and also to really learn about yourself. This is a new you, a you without the past that you were in. And you get to discover who you are in this part of your life. It might be entirely different than what you expected, especially if you start to change your beliefs and your perceptions and your judgments. Next, you get to the new pre-existing condition. Here you create new beliefs, perceptions, and judgments, and you live with a new reality, with a new awareness and possibilities at every corner available to you. And you begin to create trust in yourself, and you have the empowerment to do anything. And so here, when you go through the willingness to change diagram, just learn to just be more gentle with yourself and love yourself, because we all have to go through change, and it looks pretty intense for some, and then for others it's really more gradual. But we all go through it, and we all go through these symptoms and these stages. And begin to welcome change rather than resist it. One of my gurus, her name is Rinpoche, she was saying, like, you know, when we change things, like, some people get so afraid of it, but what if we start to look at it as, ooh, I'm buying a new car. That's a big change. What if you, like, start to learn about your car, that new car, and you start to love it, and you drive it, and you take it out, and you learn about it. That is way better than resisting it. You want to be able to enjoy the change. And also understand that change is a process, like I said earlier, that will bring up every emotion that is stifled and not healed in the name of survival. So that's why I really wanted to bring up the 4 archetypes, so that you understand what really is going on inside of you. And know that suffering is optional, you know, and you can go through it well, or you can resist it and suffer through the whole thing and still come out the other end okay. So know that suffering is optional. And learn that you will become empowered and stronger and brave as you move through this. Going through change is one of the most amazing and yet hard things for people. So know that as you overcome this change, you begin to build that strength and that trust within you. And again, remember that God, universe, will never give you anything you can't handle. So I'm just going to come back to you. Hello. So I was hoping that that kind of sunk in, and I'm realizing the time is about 3:52, but I think we can get the rest of this in the next couple minutes without having to not share the rest of the information. Just wanted to pause a moment and see if any of you had any questions or comments. And if you do, again, please feel free to put it on the side. Whew, it's starting to get hot in here. Hawaii is, actually we just had our fall equinox, and so that was a balance of light and day, and other parts are experiencing the spring equinox. And actually this is the perfect time for this webinar because it's all about change. And for those that are in fall equinox, it's really like looking into yourself and learning about what's inside of you and discerning what still belongs and what doesn't belong, and to get rid of it. And for the spring equinox, it's like being able to celebrate in the new beginnings and charge forth and create anew and give birth to new ideas, just so you know. Okay, so now I'm going to get to some other good stuff. So I just recently picked up this book. It's called The Millionaire Master Plan, and I love it because it really talks about moving from your level of wealth to a higher level. And the author is Roger James Hamilton, and he has created this interactive site online along with your book so that you can really discover your path to wealth and what's right for you, because it really isn't the same for everybody. He states that there are 4 types of people. There's the dynamos, which are idea smart, the blaze, which are people smart, tempos, that are senses smart, and the steels, which are detail smart. And each of those have different ways to move to the next level. And if you don't understand it, then it's really hard because you're coming from a place that doesn't work for you. So the things that you realize that actually are sometimes a hindrance are your most greatest asset and your strength. And so Roger James Hamilton created this book where it shows you, like, helps you discover which one you are so that you can create the best wealth plan for yourself. And I wanted to go through one area of the book because I thought it was just fantastic, especially for, he's a dynamo, so he's idea smart. And what he learned about the dynamo is that we all go through this wealth lighthouse. and you move up different steps. And what I love about it, coincides with the chakras. So you have the red root chakra, second orange, which is your sexuality, creativity, your stomach, your solar plexus, which is your power and control, and then green, your heart, here, your throat, your words of expression, and then here is indigo, the way you visualize and see things, and here, the top is your crown chakra, which is how you're connected. And he literally takes you through this wealth lighthouse to help you discover why you're staying at a certain level. So I highly recommend getting the book. It's amazing. So I just wanted to read to you one of the things that will help you understand why you remain in your certain wealth level, especially for dynamos. I won't be able to go through them all. Again, get the book if you're really interested. So the red level is the survivor mode. And he learned that in order to move to the next level, to the orange level, he had to give up the freedom of choice. And what that means is when you're in survival mode, you kind of just don't want to do anything. And so you don't choose anything except for maybe choosing that, yes, I'm going to sit on the couch today. Yes, I'm going to not do anything. I'm just going to live in the survival mode. So he learned that in order to move to the next level, you have to give up your freedom of choice and incorporate more disciplined routines and be accountable to self. And in this red level, if you're in this zone of like humongous debt and you're not knowing where you're going to go, you're not necessarily going to work on things that are your passion. You're really going to just find a job where you're like getting more committed, making some money to get your income going. And then next, as the dynamo, which is again the idea smart, moves to the orange level, he learned that he had to give up his freedom of movement. And what that means is now being accountable to other people, like creating a schedule and getting clients or working a job and serving others that fit their schedule. And I was here for a while when I was creating my business. It was like I had to make sure that I was going to survive by having clients and making sure my time was available to them. So that gave me less freedom of movement to do what I really wanted to do, but it started to build income for me. And next, as you move from orange to yellow, you then begin to give up your freedom of choice again. Because what happens is during this level, you're starting to create your job and everything's flowing freely, and now all these opportunities are coming up. But it's so important to focus in this level, because when you focus, you're going to get SHIT done. But when you're not, all these opportunities are coming along, you're like grabbing for all of them, and then all of a sudden you're all over the place, and now you're spreading yourself thin as well as your money. And so we start to begin to give up this freedom of choice as we move into the orange level, or the yellow level. And then if you want to move into the green level, it's really learning how to develop a team, like a team of people that you know are going to support you and that are going to work with you and lay out all the wonderful things that they know how to do and being able to trust them. And in order to move from the green to the blue, here you give up the freedom of choice. And if I'm getting this off, again, read the book. I'm kind of winging it here. So when you move from green to blue, the blue is where you're no longer leading your own business. You're basically allowing other people to do it for you because you're trusting in who you picked out and you're trusting in their talents, skills, and abilities. And this is where big corporations begin to come about, because they're now just taking a step back and allowing others to run their businesses for them. And then if you move from the blue to the indigo, which is here, basically you're learning to become the role model now for your cause or your business. And you're really having this freedom of movement because your job is working for you, everything's coming in for you, you have people lined up, and now you get to do whatever you want, go wherever you go, wherever you want to go. And basically you're just being this role model and leader in your industry and your niche. And so again, the pattern here is where you're crisscrossing. In order to get to the next level, you have to know that you can't get into the next level the way you got into that first level. So you have to change either the freedom of choosing to the freedom of movement, freedom of choosing to the freedom of movement. And that way you can climb up to the very top or wherever you're comfortable at. There's a lot of millionaires actually that live in the blue realm, and they're okay with that, and they're happy with that. And so it just depends. None of the levels are good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just where do you choose to live. So again, I highly recommend the Millionaire Master Plan, because in order to get the wealth that you wish, you're really going to have to change your mindset, the way you're doing things, your strategy of where you're going and how you're doing it, because it doesn't work when you're moving up the wealth ladder in this the lighthouse. So the last thing I wanted to share with you is, again, change is one of the biggest and the hardest things to do. And in one of my seminars, they talked about this story, and the story goes like this. So there's this fitness center in probably Los Angeles, and there's a lot of people that apply because the people that go there have been getting the greatest results. And so they literally have to take applicants to be a part of this program because there's so many of them. So they invite people into the room, and basically what they ask them to do is go home, change your toilet paper around from being over, if it's over all the time, to under, so that it's different from what you normally do. And I don't know about you, but I always put over. I don't know, it's sanitary. You're like just pulling in, you can rip it off. When it's under, you have to hold the toilet paper and rip it off. Anyhow, that's besides the point. So he told the people to go home and change their toilet paper and come back the next day, and they'll be able to decide who will be a part of this fitness program. So the next day happens, and the one question he asked is, please raise your hand if you change the toilet paper roll. And literally only like 3, maybe 5 people raised their hand out of a group of maybe 25. And he said, those with the hands raised may stay, the rest of you must go. And the reason being is, if you're going to change and do what it takes to get to that next level, if you can't do that one thing, which is changing that toilet paper around, it's going to stop you each time, because you're not willing, you're not committed, and you're just not ready for it. So are you willing to change your toilet paper roll from the other side to the other side? So that is my homework to you, is tonight, change the toilet paper around. And you can email me or send me a picture to CandiceFox11@gmail.com and let me know that if you're willing to change. And also, after that, I'd love for you to tell me a story of a time that you did go through change and it was successful and it got you to wherever you are now. And that way we can really start from this perspective, this place of like change works and it happens and it's a good thing, rather than like this fearful, this anxious, this I don't want to do it thing. Because once you start changing your mindset to like, actually this is kind of fun, what's possible here, what's going to happen, you'll start to see that change will be, you'll welcome change and it will happen constantly in your life, and you'll basically create this whole new life that you never knew existed in the first place. So anyhow, I thank you so much for being on the webinar with me today. Again, this is a webinar series, so that I will be back next Tuesday, and I believe that is, I have to look at the calendar again, Tuesday, September 30th, same time, 3 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is going to be a good one, and I highly recommend that you come, and if you haven't done any of your homeworks, please do it. So the archetypes assignment, as well as the toilet paper and change assignment. And again, I'll be looking at your assignments and doing clearings on them. So if you want the best and the most out of these webinar series, I highly recommend to do it. I'm here, I'm available to you. And know that I charge my clients like $150 a session. And this is all free to you because I wanted to offer you such value and this space of being able to do what it takes to go to your next level, whatever it is that you truly desire. So work with me here. I want to see those emails, okay? So thank you again, and I really appreciate you. I will see you next week, Tuesday. Aloha.